and welcome everyone. It's really good to see you all, see many familiar faces. Lovely to be with you this morning, and hope that you had a good Thanksgiving holiday if you celebrate Thanksgiving, that had a chance to be with loved ones perhaps, or do some enjoyable things, or maybe have some time for rest. But anyway, I hope you've had a good few days, and there's a lot going on for us in the world, as we're all aware. I think two big verdicts, very mixed over recent days in the courts, and then the news in the last 48 hours, really, of the new variant. I don't know, maybe some people like to keep news at bay, so I don't want to be a spoiler alert, but there is, I'm sure most have heard that there's some concern about a new variant, Omicron, and after being in the pandemic for 20 months, we may have some more time to go through this. But fortunately, we have our practice of mindfulness and self-compassion and compassion and loving kindness and all of the other skills that we can incorporate into our lives to hold whatever is here. And that's really a theme that I want to focus on today. I'm going to be talking about the heart of our practice. What's at the core, what's at the essence of our practice, and really highlighting our intentions and our willingness and our effort to meet our experience wholeheartedly, to say yes to what's here, because a lot of our suffering is when we're not willing to stay with our experience. We're not willing to feel what we're feeling, but rather we go out into the world to, in some way avoid difficult feelings. Often it's to get what we want. We have a feeling of neediness or wanting and kind of move outward to get it. So I want to explore the power, really, of saying yes to what is. And what we have as a format is we normally begin, obviously a short welcome. I'll just say a couple more words for those who are new to this class. I'm Hugh Byrne. I've been teaching with the Insight meditation community for almost two decades now, and teach here and elsewhere when it's possible to do so, but almost all online in the last 21 months or so. And it's been a blessing in some ways, and it's been a challenge in others. It's not the same as being together in person, but it's wonderful too that we can be together in this way of seeing each other and being able to connect with each other and practice together. And I've often thought how much harder it would have been even 10 years ago to go through a pandemic, and still have this level of connection, which I don't think we'd have been able to do. To say nothing of what the Center for Mindful Living has been able to do, in terms of classes and the whole huge variety of offerings over this period. It really has kind of blossomed and bloomed in these pandemic months. And so there's definitely kind of two sides to what we've been experiencing. And so the Center for Mindful Living, I'll say some words about it because there's some changes underway with the center. it won't affect any of the classes or anything that we're doing in the current period, but just for the kind of where things are going, some changes I'll talk about. And obviously the classes under the auspices of the Insight Meditation Community of Washington, IMCW, which has a lot of wonderful classes all around the district and Maryland and Virginia. And fortunately, with people joining us from all over the country and Canada and all over the world, different parts of the world. So again, welcome to you all, and we'll take about 20 minutes for a meditation. I'll bring in some gratitude. I think we'll practice some gratitude. Gratitude's I find an incredibly powerful practice, not just at Thanksgiving, but any time really, because it helps us get out of our focus, sometimes obsession with what's wrong or what we're lacking or what we're needing, and kind of brings us back to what we already have. It's a great way of stepping out of, reactivity and, different afflictive mind states that we can be caught up in. So let's sit for a bit and invite you to just take some time to find a posture that's comfortable, relaxed, with a sense of ease. Take some moments to really take your seat, sitting in a way that's comfortable, also with a sense of dignity, sitting in a posture that can help relax both the body and the mind, and allow you to be here, as fully here as you can be. You might consciously invite the shoulders to relax, let the hands rest in the lap or on the knees, whatever's comfortable. Excuse me. If you like, you can close your eyes, let your attention come inward. Or if you prefer, keep your eyes open with a soft, unfocused gaze, looking maybe a few feet ahead of you. Let the chest be open so you can breathe easily. You might consciously invite your attention to drop out of the thinking mode where we spend a lot of our time, just into the body. Feel your body, feel the weight of your body, gravity pulling you down. Feel the contact of your buttocks and thighs with the surface that you're sitting on. Contact of your feet with the floor. Contact of your hands with whatever they may be touching. And it can be helpful to take a few deeper breaths to help relax and arrive. So you might invite a nice full deep in breath, filling the chest, filling the lungs. And then long, slow out breath, releasing, letting go on the out breath. Breathing in, calming the body. Breathing out, calming the mind. Whenever you're ready, you can let your breath settle back into its natural rhythm. You can think of the breath as a resource. If you're feeling tight or tense in meditation, or dealing with a strong emotion or physical discomfort, you can come back and maybe take a couple of deeper breaths. Invite the body and the mind to relax and settle again. Also be helpful to invite a smile to your face, kind of bringing in the emotions, bringing in a sense of caring. You might think of someone who easily makes you feel happy or joyful. Maybe let their image come into your mind and into your heart. And let the facial muscles come into the expression of a smile, around the eyes, around the mouth. Maybe invite the smile into the heart area. You might let the smile be the expression or the attitude of how you want to meet your experience, how you want to meet whatever's coming up for you. Can you meet this moment with a smile? Welcome the guests with a smile. Whatever feelings or emotions or sensations, sounds come up. You might take some moments to reflect, this time of giving thanks. Reflect on some things in your life that you feel grateful for. Dear ones, loved ones in your life. Make your life more pleasant or joyful or easier. Conditions or situations maybe that are favorable, maybe your health or your financial security, good friends, your religious practice or spiritual practice. Just to take in what you appreciate and feel thankful for. You could say a silent internal thank you. People, conditions, situations. So much we tend to take for granted, the bounties of nature, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the animals, the birds, creatures that share the earth with us. trees, the natural world. So much that we can be thankful for, and yet we easily forget that and focus on what's wrong or what we lack. So it can be a powerful practice to just come back, remember regularly. The gift of community, of Sangha, and being together, supporting each other in our practice. Share this reflection from Jack Cornfield on gratitude. He says, gratitude is a gracious acknowledgement of all that sustains us, a bow to our blessings, great and small, an appreciation of the moments of good fortune that sustain our life every day. We have so much to be grateful for. Gratitude is confidence in life itself. In it, we feel how the same force that pushes grass through cracks in the sidewalk invigorates our own life. Gratitude gladdens the heart. It's not sentimental, not jealous, not judgmental. Gratitude does not envy or compare. Gratitude receives in wonder the myriad offerings of the rain and the earth, the care that supports every single life. You might take in this gratitude, prayer, reflection. With gratitude, I remember the people, animals, plants, insects, creatures of the sky and sea, air and water, fire and earth, all whose joyful exertion blesses my life every day. With gratitude, I remember the care and labor of 1,000 generations of elders and ancestors who came before me. I offer my gratitude for the safety and well-being I have been given. I offer my gratitude for the blessings of this earth I have been given. I offer my gratitude for the measure of health I have been given. I offer my gratitude for the family and friends I have been given. I offer my gratitude for the community I have been given. I offer my gratitude for the teachings and lessons I have been given. I offer my gratitude for the life I have been given. So letting your awareness open to whatever feelings you're aware of, whatever sensations you're aware of in your body, and make space for whatever is here. Whatever mood or emotions may be present. Maybe you're feeling calm, or you might be feeling more tense or agitated, or the mind very busy. Just see if you can just recognize and allow what is here. Let it come, and let it be, let it go. However the mind is right now. Calm, spacious, and maybe more tight and tense. See how it is to just let this feeling, this experience be here. Let it come. Let it be. And when it's ready, let it go. You might scan your experience and just notice what's present right now. See if you can bring the quality of acceptance and kindness to whatever is here. Notice what happens when you bring acceptance to your experience, particularly if it's a difficult experience. What happens when you meet it with acceptance and kindness? Notice, does that feel different than when you meet it with resistance or aversion, wanting to push it away, resist it? You might notice at times when we resist something, we tense up, we tighten, we put more strain on ourselves with stress. See how it is to invite a more spacious, open, accepting attitude to what's here. Helpful, you might just let your attention rest gently and kindly on your breathing as a way of gathering the attention. Mind easily goes off into thought. So having a focus, having really a home base for our attention can be quite helpful. just a light attention on the sensations of breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in, just know that you're breathing in. Breathing out, knowing that you're breathing out. And when the mind goes into thought, maybe you find yourself looking into the future or thinking about the past, planning or daydreaming, worrying, ruminating, or just words or images coming up. Just gently and kindly let the attention come back to the body and the breath. Just notice what you're aware of when you kind of wake up out of thought. How does that feel? And then how does it feel to be back? Just aware of the body and the breath. This moment without judgment. Dorothy Hunt asks in a poem, does peace require an absence from your boss, your spouse, yourself? Do you think peace will come some other place than here, some other time than now, in some other heart than yours? Peace is this moment without judgment, this moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. Peace is this moment without thinking that it should be some other way, that you should feel some other thing, that your life should unfold according to your plans. Peace is this moment without judgment, this moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. how is it to genuinely say yes to what's here right now, to what you're experiencing right now? Finish with another poem of peace. This is Wendell Berry's The Peace of Wild Things. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water and feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Time I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Take your time opening your eyes, coming back into the space you're in, the group. And a warm welcome to any of us who joined after the session started. Welcome to our Sunday morning class. And, good to have so many of us here today. I thought a lot of people might be traveling, but maybe that's already been done and people are back, or maybe it didn't happen for some. But glad you're here. And what I would want to talk about today is I call this talk the heart of our practice. The heart of our practice. Just to kind of as an introduction to say the Buddha saw, based on his life and his search and his experience of awakening, that the most important question we can ask in our life really is there an end to suffering? Is there an end to suffering? We could almost also put it as, is true happiness possible in this life amidst all the, the sickness and aging and death and loss and the challenges of life? Is true happiness, genuine happiness possible? Can we find the deepest freedom in the midst of all of the challenges of life, the ones I mentioned, sickness, aging, death, loss, etc.? And that was really the Buddha's question. You know, it's a question that is really a fundamental one. He saw it as being more important than questions about, you know, about the universe or the cosmos and how things happened and all of that. Because it really affects our lives in every way. You know, it affects, if we can find freedom in this life, then it makes all the difference in the world that we really explore how we go about freeing ourselves from suffering, if we can find an end to suffering. So that was for him the central question of his life. And he answered the question for himself through his practice and through his awakening. Yes, he said, there is an end to suffering. He realized this truth in the sense that he made real this truth. And out of compassion for the world, caring about the suffering of people, all, you know, everywhere, and wanting to alleviate it, and out of understanding that his experience was not something that was unique to him, you know, that his experience of awakening really was an expression of a freedom that's possible for all of us. So if it was just him, oh, he had special qualities. Well, obviously he had certainly qualities that are very much to revere, but he was a human being like other human beings. And so what he was pointing to is a freedom that is available that comes from being human, you know, not from being a particular person or born into a particular family or a particular class or whatever. And so understanding that everyone has the potential for the kind of freedom that he himself experienced and realized. On that basis, he shared his teachings for 4,500 years, for 45 years, and they've come down to us, you know, 25 centuries later. I think of it as like a bell that's still reverberating after 25 centuries. You know, the bell, the clarity of his wisdom and his vision, you know, has come down to us. There's a saying, I can't quite find it, maybe if somebody, the exact wording for it, but it's like the bell stops ringing, but it rings through the flowers. It's a Zen saying, I haven't quite got it right, but it's kind of like a little bit like that he's no longer here to ring the bell, but it's still ringing down through the flowers down to us. So the Buddha shared his realization in his central teachings, for example, the Four Noble Truths and the Four Foundations of Mindfulness and other teachings. And at the core of his teachings is the understanding that a key doorway to freedom comes through opening fully to our present moment experience. That this moment, whatever this moment is for you right now, you know, wherever you are, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're experiencing right now, this moment holds the possibility of seeing clearly, of opening to a deeper freedom. That any moment of our life, any moment of our experience, certainly of our waking lives, I mean, we may be more limited in what we do while we're asleep, but in our waking conscious lives, every moment offers the possibility of deepening insight, wisdom, understanding. So what I want to talk about is three things, really. The first is this core understanding and practice that freedom comes through saying yes to our experience. You know, I want to explore that a little bit. What does it mean to say yes to our experience? Secondly, I want to share something that becomes obvious and clear in our practice, that this saying yes to our experience is easier said than done. It's easier said than done. You know, it's one thing to say, oh, you just say yes to this experience, yes to what you're feeling. Well, we have a lot of ways in which we've got into the habit or conditioned ourselves not to say yes to our experience. And so it's not the easiest thing in the world. We have lots of ways of kind of escaping feeling what we're feeling, experiencing what we're experiencing. So that's the second question, you know, why it's difficult, why it's easier said than done. And third, I want to talk about a central path to overcoming the obstacles to saying yes, so that we can fully open to our experience. And that practice or that path is mindfulness through mindfulness of the body. It's not the only path, but it's a very important one. It's a fundamental one. Mindfulness, awareness of the body. So as I'm speaking, I would encourage you to stay as grounded as you can in awareness of your own body. It doesn't mean you won't be able to hear what I'm saying or understand what I'm saying, but just to feel, you know, notice what's happening in the chest and the belly and the other areas of your body. And just open as fully as you can to your experience as it is right now. So firstly, starting where we are, the path to freedom begins where we are. In any moment and in every moment, we're faced with our experience. You know, it may be one moment, may be pleasant, maybe unpleasant, maybe happy, maybe sorrowful, maybe painful, maybe peaceful. Could be our bodily experience, our mental experience, our emotional experience. And we don't actually have any say in what our experience is at a particular moment. What's happening for you right now, speaking to 70 or so yous, and including me in the you, that's my name, you, that each one of us is experiencing something right now. You know, we might be feeling energized, we might be feeling enthusiastic, we might be feeling calm, we might be feeling restless or bored or anxious. There may be things going on in your life. Whatever is here is here. We might ask ourselves, well, why is it here? If it's something we don't like, we might say, why me? Why now? Why this? But, and that may be helpful, depending on how we ask those questions. That may be helpful to learn, you know, what caused me to be feeling this. If I'm feeling really dragged out and tired right now, it's obviously useful to say, you know, I wonder why I'm so tired right now. Well, I only had 3 hours of sleep last night, you know, whatever, you know, that can be helpful. But what is here right now is here right now. This is what's here, whatever this is for you right now. And what is a key question that really affects and determines our happiness on one side or our suffering on the other side is, how will I meet this experience? How will I meet this moment? How am I meeting this moment? Because that's really where we have a lot of influence. If a thought comes up to me right now, oh, I wonder where I should go on vacation next summer. If that just comes up, that comes up. You know, it's like, oh, that's what's here. Maybe, you know, obviously I could kind of say, oh, I'm going to start thinking about my vacation right now. And I could kind of create the conditions for that thought to arise. But basically, once it's arisen, it's here. The key to our happiness is, how do I meet whatever is here right now? So if you, for example, meet an emotion, a sensation, a feeling, a thought, or a belief with resistance, with trying to escape or avoid what's here, typically what will happen is you'll suffer. You know, it won't be a pleasant experience. I want to get rid of it. I want to push it away. Because things don't really go away in that way. You know, they may, to a limited extent, we push something out of our mind. But if we resist it in that way, it will tend to come back. You know, as Jung said, I think, what you resist persists. You know, that well-known saying, what you resist persists. But if you meet the same experience, you know, pleasant or unpleasant, the same experience, if you meet it with kindness and acceptance and without resistance, without judgment, then that's a path to happiness and well-being. So how we meet our experience is crucial. You know, this particular wisdom is at the heart of many traditions and many paths. You know, I mentioned earlier the Rumi's poem, The Guest House, I think, you know, welcome the guests. You know, he speaks about this being human as a guest house, you know, every moment a new arrival, it goes on. That something, what he's saying really is that something changes when we welcome our experience, as opposed to, oh, I like this, I want it, but I don't want that, I want to push it away. He says the dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So it's a bit really helpful, those last lines, that there's some wisdom in being willing to open to our experience, particularly the things that we might normally want to push away. The spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle speaks of saying yes to what is, saying yes to what is as a key path to freedom. It's the same sense of what is here. What happens when I say yes to this rather than resisting it? Tara Brach, who's familiar probably to many or most here, founder of Insight Meditation Community of Washington, in her first book, taught that bringing radical acceptance to our experience, to all parts of ourselves, is a doorway to the deepest freedom. So a deep-rooted, radical acceptance of our experience, not a half-hearted or a bargaining acceptance, leads to great freedom. I've shared before the quote I like from the Jesuit philosopher, writer, poet, Anthony de Mello, spiritual teacher. He spoke of enlightenment as absolute cooperation with the inevitable. Absolute cooperation with the inevitable. You know, what the inevitable means, what is here. It's the unavoidable. You know, what's unavoidable, what's here is unavoidable. But if we cooperate completely with what is unavoidable, then this is freeing. You know, because what it really means is we can say yes to everything, you know, and saying yes to everything doesn't mean we say everything is, you know, that we never change anything. That's thinking of Carl Rogers. Carl Rogers said, the curious paradox is that when I accept myself as I am, then I can change. The curious paradox is that when I accept myself as I am, then I can change. You know, so it's not saying we never change anything, or we never do anything, or that this is just, excuse me, these practices are just about passivity. They're not about passivity. They're about a real creative relationship with our experience, but that it is really grounded in this deep-rooted acceptance of this moment as it is. This moment as it is, if I accept it fully, then as Eckhart Tolle puts it elsewhere, he says, what you accept fully, you go beyond. What you accept fully, you go beyond. It no longer has its hooks in us. You know, if I resist something, then it's still, you know, it's still causing suffering for me. I'm still, you know, I'm not free of it, shall I say. But if I can just allow it to come and go, then deep freedom is possible. One more example, Robert Bly, I think died last week. another well-known author, writer, said that every part of ourselves that we don't learn to love and accept will become hostile to us. So it's another wise way of understanding this, that when we resist anything, then it will tend to stay around and become hostile to us. So when we open fully to what we're feeling, what we're experiencing, when we do it without bargaining or resistance, we actually transform our experience. It becomes a different experience. It's not the same experience as when we resist it. You know, we might get the same piece of information in, you know, quote, bad news comes in. But if we meet it with resistance, it becomes a different experience than if we meet it with acceptance and saying, oh yeah, this is difficult news, but I'm going to accept it. What happens with it? Space opens. We're not at war with it, if you like. So a deep freedom can come through this radical acceptance, this deep-rooted acceptance, this saying yes to what is. So wonderful lines from the third Zen patriarch, who says, let go of longing and aversion, and everything will be perfectly clear. When you make a hair's breadth difference, heaven and earth are set apart. He says, if you want to realize the truth, don't be for or against. The struggle between good and evil is the primal disease of the mind. Struggle between good and evil is a primal disease of the mind. It doesn't mean that there aren't good things to work for and harmful things to prevent. Absolutely there are. But what this is speaking to, and what all of this is speaking to, is not to do it from a place of duality, a place of, you know, this defeating that, but rather from a place of acceptance. If we can bring that quality of acceptance to the work we do for social change, for example, it's a whole different experience than if we bring the energy of conflict, you know, and aversion and resistance to that same work. You know, it's the same wholesome work, but with one energy, it becomes a very different one from the other one. So when we cooperate absolutely with what's present now, this is the doorway to the deepest freedom. And what's the word almost paradoxical is we don't need to get rid of anything. If anger or greed are present, or even hatred is present, we can simply observe the feelings, the emotions, the thoughts, and let them come and go. Just let them come and go. Let them, if we don't cling to or resist or escape, try to escape the feelings or sensations, particularly the difficult ones, then they can just come and go. They can pass through us like a weather system. And in the words of Tibetan Buddhism, they can self-liberate. They can free themselves. We don't have to get rid of this, oh, I've got these bad thoughts. I've got to get rid of these bad thoughts, you know, or these hateful thoughts or angry thoughts or whatever they might be. We simply have to see, okay, if I don't cling to them, if I don't fight with them, if I don't resist them, if I don't hold on to them, then they just go on their own. So a question we might ask is, without our struggling with them, where do they go? If we don't struggle with them, where do they go? They just, I believe, in my experience, they just come and go. They free themselves. That's that expression, self-liberate. It's a very simple teaching. Say yes to everything. Say yes to your experience. You know, let go of resistance, but it's not easy. And that's the second point I want to get into, why it's not easy. Why is it difficult in practice to open fully to our experience? I believe one reason can come down to the word evolution. You know, Evolution is one reason why it's difficult. Evolution has handed us down through thousands of generations, great gifts that helped our ancestors to survive and hence for us to be here. And they can be helpful for us today, but they can come with costs if we're not aware, if we're not careful, if we're not conscious, if we're not aware. I'm not going to go into this in depth because that would be a whole talk in itself. So I'm just going to do a quick shorthand, but I encourage you to read Rick Hanson, who's written extensively on this, Buddha's Brain. We've got the neuroscience of Dharma, or the Dharma of neuroscience. So those two together. Robert Sapolsky has researched these areas for a long, long time. Daniel Kahneman, who wrote Thinking Fast and Slow, and many others for a fuller story. But just take a couple of examples. Fear and anger are powerful emotions that have really had a very strong evolutionary impact, have helped our ancestors to survive. If we feared what was going to harm us, that would get us revved up to, to survive, to take care of ourselves, to fight, to run, to do whatever we needed to do. Anger, similarly. So allowing ourselves to defend ourselves and escape harm when we're under threat. But when these emotions get activated and responded to without awareness, they can lead to great harm. So, for example, anger can turn into hatred and violence if we just kind of let it go unleashed. Oh, that's a terrible person. Oh, they did this. This politician did that. Oh, horrible, hateful. And then we build it up into this whole thing, and it's a cause of suffering to ourselves, to say nothing of others. Fear can also be very useful if something is coming at us. A vehicle out of control, and we see it coming from 10, 20 yards off, we'll immediately, be stimulated to, what's a better word than that, move to respond immediately. And that's really, that can help us survive today. But when fear is allowed to, just kind of run rampant, then it can cause tremendous, tremendous suffering. It can turn into stress, worry, anxiety, phobias, all sorts of ways in which fear, if it's not dealt with and responded to wisely, can cause a great deal of suffering. So the key to responding wisely to our emotions is to bring the quality of conscious awareness to our experience. Without awareness, anger can lead to hatred and war. But with awareness, we can see what needs to be done, but act in a wiser and a kinder and more compassionate way. With awareness, the cycle of an eye for an eye can be ended through compassion, understanding, and loving kindness. So coming back to the question of freedom, coming through saying yes to what is, why is it so difficult to open fully to our experience? Well, we're primed really to move away from unpleasant, difficult, or painful experiences, and to move towards those that are pleasant, enjoyable, that are more, they'll give us what we need to survive and thrive. With wisdom and discernment, we can enjoy the pleasant, enjoyable experiences. But if we think they're going to give us lasting satisfaction and we want more of them, I've got to have more of them, then we're going to be disappointed because they can't provide lasting satisfaction, and they won't provide lasting satisfaction. The problem is, once we have certain experiences, that lead to positive, pleasant outcomes, particularly where the chemical dopamine is involved, then we easily repeat the experiences. We want more of them. And those behaviors become habitual. And the habits habits are governed by different brain processes than intentional behaviors are. And some habits can get us into trouble and can be hard to shake off. So this comes back to why it's difficult. If we, for example, we have a pleasant experience, maybe, we take a drug or we drink alcohol and oh, this is really nice. I feel kind of a high feeling, or I feel like I'm uninhibited. And then easily we can want more of the pleasant experience. And this can, again, without awareness, lead to craving, to wanting, to clinging, even to addiction. So just these the following of the pleasant in this way can lead to, really contracted states of mind where it's not so easy just to say, well, just be with this feeling of craving, be with this feeling of wanting. So we have a lot of these energies within us that we've trained ourselves in often over years and decades. So it's not easy to say yes to what is. Similarly, or conversely, with the unpleasant feelings, if we experience anger or fear, it's not so easy just to feel those feelings. They're feelings that tend to make us want to run or fight or do something. So it's not so easy just to say, okay, can I feel the fear? Can I feel it running through me? And can I let it go? Very easily, we turn it into blaming others. I've got this feeling, I'm angry, something has happened, I've been disrespected or something. I feel angry, and then I want to blame. Maybe I blame others, I judge them, I hate them, I maybe blame myself. Rather than feeling the anger or feeling the fear and allowing the thoughts to come and go, as I've been speaking about. We can have an unpleasant feeling of maybe I'm feeling a little bit anxious. And rather than allowing myself to feel that anxious feeling, very easily I can go, oh, what can I do? Oh, I can check my phone. I'd see if anyone's liked my post on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, or have a cookie or have a glass of wine or something that takes me away from these feelings. That's the thing we get habituated to do. So it's not so easy for us to just say yes to what is. It doesn't tend to be our default. In a way, it's really going against the grain of our habits, our behaviors, often of our conditioning. James Baldwin, the great American playwright, novelist, poet, civil rights activist, and it's a really powerful statement for me. He says, speaking about, this was about in the civil rights era of the 60s, he says, I imagine one of the reasons people cling to their hate so stubbornly is because they sense once hate is gone, they will be forced to deal with pain. They'll be forced to deal with their own pain. So the reason why we so often and so easily go into blaming and anger and judgment that goes outward is it's a way of avoiding feeling our own pain, feeling what's uncomfortable, what's difficult within us. So the way out, they've often said the way out is through the experience, not through avoiding or pushing away or acting out in the world, blaming others. So that's the way we deal with the difficult experiences often, is to kind of externalize them, blame them on others. And then we easily get into the cycle of the bad people out there and we're the good people. And then, it's a war of, us against them, the good people, the quote good people against the quote bad people. So we need to go against the grain when we say yes to what is. So it calls for really a path of training the heart and the mind. And the Buddha taught this path of training, a path of mindfulness and compassion and equanimity that leads to clear seeing and letting go. So there are many ways that we can work to say yes to what is. And so I'm just going to, just given the time, I just want to touch very briefly on one that I think is really central, and that is bringing mindfulness to our bodies, bringing mindfulness to the body. Because the body is really at the heart of all of our experiences. If we're feeling a painful or difficult emotion, we'll feel it in our bodies. We'll also have thoughts that go with that emotion. And very easily, we go into the thoughts. We're feeling sad about something. We might be feeling lonely. That loneliness, that sadness will have a somatic, a body feeling with it. It will tend to also have thoughts in the mind. But what we very easily do, and very often do, is we go into the thoughts, we go into the narratives, the stories in the mind. Oh, I'm so sad, I feel so lonely. And rather than just, in a really compassionate way, putting our hand on our heart and saying, okay, yeah, this feels hard. It's really hard. It feels difficult. And bringing compassion to ourselves, much more likely for many of us is to go, oh yeah, this is sad. I feel sad. I feel lonely. I'm never going to be able to be happy again since my relationship ended, or whatever the story is in the mind. We create, a story or a narrative that feels like it's going to help us escape from the difficult feeling, but actually only compounds it. We feel like we're avoiding it, but it doesn't go anywhere. As Jung said, what you resist persists. If you resist some part of your experience, it's going to stay there. It's going to come back in some other way. So mindfulness of the body, it just take a couple of minutes there and finish. Mindfulness of the body, the Buddha said about it, there's one thing that when cultivated and regularly practiced leads to deep spiritual intention, to peace, to mindfulness and clear comprehension, to vision and knowledge, to a happy life here and now, and to the culmination of wisdom and awakening. And what is that one thing? Mindfulness centered on the body. Buddha elsewhere said, if the body is not cultivated, the mind cannot be cultivated. If the body is cultivated, then the mind can be cultivated. So awareness of the body helps us to see where we're stuck, where we're clinging, where we're resisting. And we come back to the direct experience, say yes to our experience, then we can begin the process of untangling ourselves from clinging, from resistance, and from suffering. So what I want to do just for 2 minutes now, and then we'll come back into the body with Emily leading us in some movement. Just invite you to bring your attention to your body right now. I've been sharing for whatever, 20, 30, 40 minutes or something, 30, 35 minutes. And just bring awareness to what's present for you right now. And notice how your body feels. Notice if there's any tightness or tension. Just breathe into that and open to your bodily experience. Let your feelings come, let them go. Make space for whatever is here. We can fully open to our bodily experience, then it really gives us the entryway to seeing where we're tangled up, where we're stuck, and how we can let go. The body, awareness of the body, consciousness of the body will allow us to open more fully to our emotions, see where we're pushing them away, resisting them, and really allow us to come back and experience our feelings. And if we can really fully feel our feelings, then we're on a very clear path to untangling ourselves from suffering. Because what we're doing is we're saying yes to what is, when we're coming into a relationship of not resisting, of opening, accepting, allowing, letting be. And when I can do that with this feeling, then I can do it with that feeling, and I can actually do it with all feelings that arise. If I can just train my heart and my mind to do that. And this is a path of training. We need to train ourselves, because otherwise we'll just default to all our old patterns. So just opening, allowing, just continuing to practice. Can I be with this? Can I say yes to this? Can I say yes to this moment, just as it is? Buddha said, within this very fathom-long body, with its perceptions and inner sense, lies the world, the cause of the world, the cessation of the world, and the path that leads to the cessation of the world. So really, he's talking there about suffering. It leads to, really through mindfulness of the body, we can find the end of suffering. So thank you for your kind attention and practice. And I'm going to hand it over to Emily to lead us in some movement, getting us into the body.
Let me invite you to just stand up, sway on your feet, noticing how solid the earth is beneath your feet. And then open up your arms to sway from side to side, noticing the air against your hands, your arms, your neck. Then open up wide, lifting your chest up. And then lifting your arms up, grasping the left wrist in your right hand. Extend out towards the right and just lower down. Feeling the breath in your rib cage along your left side. And then inhale up, switching wrists. Inhale as you expand out to the left and tilt. Again, breathing into your right rib cage this time. And inhale up. Bring your arms down into cactus arms. Exhale, lower them. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, lower. And reach up. Expand your arms out. Turn over the left palm. And the right palm faces down. And with an inhale, switch to the other side. Turning your right palm up. And switch back to the left. Back to the right. And float your arms down, rolling your shoulders together. rolling them the other way. And then, yeah, I want to do them individually. Let's just have a moment of individual shoulder rolling or a little dance, a moment of dancing, and roll it the other way. Yeah, nice, you. Love it. All right, come back to center. Place your hands above your knees and come into a flat back, expanding out from your pelvis, your torso, lengthening, and then lower down, allowing the pull of gravity slowly to bring your muscles down. Take a deep breath here. Exhale, floating down perhaps a little bit more. And then place your hands above your knees again. Press on your feet and roll up your spine, tucking the tailbone under, lifting your shoulders up around your ears, dropping them down, lifting the head. Bring your hands to heart center and take a bow. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you. That was lovely, as always. Thank you. So I want to take a couple of minutes here, a few minutes for some sharing about some news we want to share with the community. Around 10 years ago, a few of us found the space through some of the Pleasance, a yoga teacher, some of you may know, in Tenley Town, and she urged me and my partner Rebecca to build the space and get IMCW interested in it and turn it into a center for if IMCW was interested in the center in Tenley Town. And we step by step did that with built out the first couple of rooms and had meditations there, and there was a therapy office, and over the years we built, I think together all of us built a really beautiful space there. We've been some of you more distant won't even have visited it from out of town, if you're in Washington State or in Florida or New Jersey, and may never have visited it, but it's a beautiful space. And I've been there back a few times in the last few weeks and a few times over the pandemic, and it's always really heartwarming to go there and be there. It has a wonderful energy to it, from all of the practice that's been done there and all of the, it's just we saw it as being a sanctuary in the city, where people could come and practice, and really it turned into that, particularly in the last few years with the work that Sharon and Joe Cooper and Jean and many others, Pat and many others, put into building the center while it was a physical space, and then when the pandemic started, turning it into a virtual space. And as you know, probably everyone here, almost everyone knows, it's been an incredibly dynamic space without us ever meeting in person over the last 20 months or so. And we've kept the space going, paying the rent every month, even though we've maybe it's been used for an odd massage, or but basically hasn't been used, and we've put tens of thousands of dollars into it. I won't even count the complete cost. And we, over recent months, had to, like many other people, had to kind of look and say, how long can we go on doing this? And we came to the decision really that we had to give up the space, and in consultation with the Insight Meditation Community Board, and that what we're wanting to do today, what I'm announcing, and what will also has gone out in an email to everyone who's on the list, is that everything is continuing in terms of all of these classes that we're doing online, but we are having to give up the physical space. It doesn't mean we won't be having a physical space, because for many of us, having a physical space in the DC metropolitan area is something that's really, really powerful and something we want to see. But it's also a very, very uncertain time, particularly as we're learning in the last 48 hours about a new variant. Who knows, it might be another year before we can even get together in person again. So all of those things, looking at all of those things, we made that decision. And along with, letting go of the space, committing to continuing everything that's has been going on for the last almost 2 years, and also to look for, to explore, to discuss together what might meet our needs as a community. We are committed completely to continuing with these live sessions online, and the other programs being offered online. So if you're joining us from New Jersey or from California or from Saskatchewan, nothing in that regard is changing. When the time comes, we'll go back to in person, but I will definitely want to keep my class going as an online class as well, probably some hybrid thing. But there's a lot of exploration that we're going to be doing. One of the things that the center was a drawback, an important drawback for the center, is that it wasn't accessible. If you had a disability, you couldn't really get up there. There wasn't an elevator. We didn't have the resources to put in the $20,000 it would have taken, and probably wouldn't have been a wise investment to do that in that space. So we'll look for a space. It probably will be larger. I mean, I think it would be larger, and would be accessible as well. And so, in a way, everything's changing, but nothing's changing. And I want to share it just because for me, it's a very poignant time, because, I've been involved from the very beginning, and I love the space. And I also know that things change and conditions change, and the Dharma, the teachings help us to hold change and impermanence as a really fundamental part of life. So I wanted to put it out there, and I think for some it may be it'll impact people in different ways. Some people will be like, well, I'm 3,000 miles away. That doesn't really bother me that much, as long as things continue. And others, it will be more. It will be obviously more meaningful. So I wanted to have an opportunity to put it out there. Sharon's here, who's obviously very much at the center of the CML, Center for Mindful Living, and can help with answering any questions that we might have. But so I think that's what I wanted to share. Sharon, did you want to add anything to it? Anything important I might have missed?
Oh, no, thank you, Hugh. That just was beautiful. And all of y'all, whether you've ever been in the center or not, I mean, we are CML. But the vision, Hugh's vision has grown, and it's such an honor, and it's so exciting to be a part of it now and in the future. So thank you. And just let us know. Also, just to be clear, we sent the newsletter. It went out through MailChimp through the newsletter. We'll also be sending something to the Google group. But if you didn't get it and you didn't see it, just maybe pop your email in, and I'll just make sure that you're added. But thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sharon. And Nadia has a question. Are we planning to have a farewell gathering at the space? We actually spoke about that about a week ago, and we were planning to have something. But given the conditions right now, it doesn't seem like the right time. So I think what we'll have to do is, when we are fully out of COVID, have a celebration, find a space for a celebration and a remembering of it, because I think all of us want to do that. Sharon and a couple of other of folks who've been very involved, and myself met together. Jean and Joe met together a week or so ago, and it was just lovely to be in the space. And so I'm sure if people wanted to come along and say goodbye to the space, if it has particular meaning, we could try and work that out for folks to do that. But given the whole COVID and the Omicron variant, may it not be very virulent, then it's difficult, I think, right now to do an in-person meeting. Sharon says she will add people after the class. And so please feel free, if anyone would like to share anything. It doesn't have to be on the center, but just to offer that opportunity if you do have something you'd like to say. Ruan, I'm sad about losing the space, so sad, never get over this. Needs special retreat to deal with sorrow. Some sarcasm there, okay. How much sarcasm? Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, Pamela. Yeah, thank you, everyone. And also, if anyone would like to share about anything else on the theme of the talk today or the meditation, I hope that was helpful in kind of framing some of the central practices of these teachings, of the Dharma. And yeah, please, if you have any questions or anything you'd like to share, please do, either in person or in the chat. Yeah, thank you, Anna Maria, for your sharing. A very special place, completely understandable having to give it up. Thank you. Sylvia says, what happened to the space around the corner? And thanks for sharing the story and decision with us and for continuing on Zoom. Oh, which is the space around the corner?
Iona.
Not the,
I'm sure she's talking about Iona.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you. I think my plan, again, dependent on the variant and on the pandemic, my plan has been to begin going back for a once a month in person, which we would continue to do online as well. And have that, if that worked out, people felt that was helpful to get together in person. I feel inclined to keep going personally with the online teaching, with some in-person teaching, but probably not the same extent of amount of in-person for me personally as I was doing before. So it would be more occasional. I certainly do retreats and workshops and maybe one class a month in person. Other teachers are more committed to going back to the in-person. And I think Tara is doing most of hers online, and she announced she won't be teaching more in-person retreats, although I'm sure she'll be doing some shorter programs. But so different teachers will have different approaches, but I personally have benefited so much from the virtual teaching and being able, like my morning sessions on Insight Timer have many hundreds of people on, and they're never going to be in person because they're people in, 30, 25 different countries. So I'm certainly going to continue with those afterwards. And so it'll vary from teacher to teacher, I think. Thank you, Alain. Bit of a mix of in-person and virtual, yeah. Thank you, Sam. Great to see you here today. So I loved your smile and being open to feelings. It helped me open to my feelings of joy and sadness. So good to see you, although I can't see you right now. There you are. Great to see you, Sam. Sam used to come when we were there at the center in Tenley Town. Glad you're here with us. And, yeah. So on that, on the center, please feel free to get in touch with any of us if you have any questions or thoughts or ideas. I think what we'll do now is we'll finish with a short meditation and some announcements, some other announcements, some more everyday announcements, what's going on. And I think we're planning to keep the room open for a little bit over lunch, if anyone would like to talk some more. If anyone has anything to process or share, we can do that then. So let's take 5 minutes or 4 or 5 minutes to sit again. So having listened to the talk and taken in the talk and practiced the meditation earlier, and then sharing the news about the space, which obviously will land in different ways for different people. Just invite you to open to what is present for you right now, as fully and as wholeheartedly as you can. If you can say yes to what is here. Welcome the guests. Holding whatever feelings you have, whatever emotions, whatever bodily sensations are present, whatever thoughts are here, with kindness, with care, with compassion, with acceptance. I think it's helpful to reflect that the nothing that we're feeling is wrong. Nothing that we're feeling is wrong. Even if we're having a strong, it might feel afflictive, might feel painful or difficult. It's not wrong. It's what's here. And there's some wisdom in it. What is crucial is how we meet it. If we're having a painful experience, very easy we act it out, as I was saying before, with blaming and anger or aggression or impatience. But we have the choice just to let the suffering stop with us by opening fully to our experience, by allowing ourselves to feel what we're feeling, letting the emotions really free themselves, letting the bodily feelings, pain or discomfort, really free themselves too. Maybe just breathe in a wish of compassion, intention of compassion for yourself. Wishing yourself well. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be kind to myself. May I accept myself as I am. And as you breathe out, you might breathe out kindness, care towards everyone who's here. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be kind to yourself. May you accept yourself as you are. May you live with ease and with kindness. I'll finish with this poem on kindness from Danusha Lamaris, written before the pandemic, but with some interesting references, called Small Kindnesses. I've been thinking about the way when you walk down a crowded aisle, people pull in their legs to let you by. Or how strangers still say bless you when someone sneezes. A leftover from the bubonic plague. Don't die, we're saying. And sometimes when you spill lemons from your grocery bag, someone else will help you pick them up. Mostly we don't want to harm each other. We want to be handed our cup of coffee hot and to say thank you to the person handing it, to smile at them and for them to smile back, for the waitress to call us honey when she sets down the bowl of clam chowder, and for the driver in the red pickup truck to let us pass. We have so little of each other now, so far from tribe and fire. Only these brief moments of exchange. What if they are the true dwelling of the holy, these fleeting temples we make together when we say, here, have my seat. Go ahead, you first. I like your hat. So before passing the announcements to Margaret, I will just share, I have an online workshop on Insight Timer, if you're interested, in 2 weeks from this weekend on mindfulness and habit change, which is what I wrote a couple of books on. So if you're interested, just check out the Insight Timer app. It'll be on Saturday, January 11th. Also, I'm on the team teaching the New Year's retreat, December 26th to January 1st. And that's a great opportunity to practice over an extended period of time and really in your own space and, under your own conditions. So it's a nice mix of the practice, but in, in your space, if you can make that possible. And then we have a retreat in Ireland in June of next year, Rebecca and myself, and we still have some space open for that. Hopefully everything will be clear by then. So, and just to mention that, that there's no cost for the class. It's freely offered. You are invited, if you're able to make a donation, and Margaret has put the ways you can do that in the chat. It's how the teachings have come down through 100 generations, and we're really happy to continue with that practice.